What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's out there staying high speed and motivated and accomplishing your goals, whatever they may be. Got some pretty sweet news for you guys out there. There is a 5.2% increase in military pay coming in January of 2004, next month. So there's two sides to this thing, right? First, I'll go ahead and tell you guys what you can expect for your pay increase for 2024. And after that, we'll do a little bit of our own analysis to see if it's as big of a deal as they're trying to make it sound. And here's the deal, check it out. Biden signs law backing military pay increase for 2024. Here's how much you'll get. President Joe Biden signed the annual defense authorization bill into law Friday afternoon, confirming the largest raise in military basic pay in decades. The 2024 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, was approved by Congress this month. It backed the increase for active duty service members and reservists. Active duty troops and drilling guard and reserve members will receive a 5.2% pay raise in January, the largest increase since getting a 6.9% raise in 2002. Wow, 6.9%, that's pretty big. Set according to an established formula. I'm kind of wondering what that formula is and where they get that from. The 5.2% raise was part of Biden's fiscal 2024 budget request to Congress and was included in the House, Senate, and conference versions of the National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, before receiving the president's signature. The 5.2 raise increases the monthly pay for an enlisted E1 with less than 2 years of service by nearly $100 to $2,017. That's per month. For an officer with the pay grade of 04 with more than 6 years of service, the raise amounts to about $380 a month for a total of about $7,681. Wow, that's a pretty big difference, right? It's kind of funny that they give us these estimations. They're kind of weird. They want us to see that pay gap is really what's going on. I mean, an E1 with less than 2 years of service, you're only an E1 for what, like 6 months? That's if you didn't have any like specific high school credits or a degree or something like that when coming in. Not even everybody comes in as an E1. A lot of soldiers come in as an E2. So they gave you the lowest possible amount of raise you would see with this pay bump. And then they go ahead and bring in the officers, which we already know there's a big pay gap between the enlisted and the officers, right? But obviously when you're talking increasing a pay based on percentages, you're going to see a higher increase if you're making more money. And typically the officers in the Army are making more money. It's just funny that they put that in the article like that. To me, it looks like they're trying to stir up some emotion. But I mean, overall, guys, a 5.2% rate increase is pretty good, okay? Making an extra $100 a month as a brand new service member at the lowest rank possible ain't too bad. However, it's also important that we remember about taxes, okay? Because unfortunately, the man's going to get their cut too, and that's roughly 25 to 30% of your pay, and that's not even if you're talking about state taxes. So really, that $100 a month for an E1 really looks more like 75-ish extra a month. Still pretty good, though. I also mentioned that you're not an E1 for very long, so as you go up in rank, those raises are just going to be higher and higher. Looks like we're also going to see an increase in BAS and BAH, which is basic allowance for subsistence and basic allowance for housing. The basic allowance for subsistence, an allotment received by active duty troops who live outside the barracks, is going up only 1.7% for both officers and enlisted members. In 2023, by comparison, BAS went up 11.2%. Whoa, 11.2%? I didn't even notice that last year. Yeah, that's definitely a pretty modest increase, but something to keep in mind is that that's all tax-free, so that's just cash in your pocket, a little extra cash, I guess. The 5.4% increase in the BAH coming in 2024 is similar to the increase in basic pay, but can't match 2023's 12.1% rise. Man, 12.1%? Geez, I really don't remember that happening. All right, so that's what we can expect for our basic pay raise and our BAS and BAH pay raises in the military for 2024. You know, I'm not one to complain about a raise ever, but let's just see if it being the biggest pay raise in decades really means as much as it sounds in the headlines. So I'm here on Statista, which is a very reputable website and can give you some very trustworthy information in regard to statistics in regard to the economy. And here is a chart that tells us the annual inflation rate in the United States all the way back from 1990 to 2022. And as you can see here, more recently, just during the last few years, we've seen a huge increase in inflation, which is very well known. I'm sure you all are feeling it out there. It's really no secret, no surprise. It's all over the news. We go to the grocery store and our dollar's worth a lot less. But look, this is huge. In 2022, the annual inflation rate was 8%. which means that whatever raise we got in that year, and I'm not even going to bother looking up because we know it wasn't 8%, did not match inflation, which meant your dollar was still worth less at the end of the year and the beginning of the new year. So is that the same that's happening with 2024? Well, let me look up some stats on 2023. Here is a monthly breakdown of the inflation rate spanning back the last few years. And as you can see, we do have the last 12 months in this chart. Wow, 9.1% June 2022. That is so high, guys. That's insane. But you can see that that was the peak. And for the last year and a half, inflation across the board on average for all consumer goods and services has been on a downward trend. It's important to remember this is the average across the board inflation stats, okay? So this is everything. This isn't just groceries or just gas or just services. It's everything that your dollar's being put against for purchasing power. And in the summer of 2023, we hit a low point of inflation at 3%. And that's pretty good. That's much lower than 9.1%, right? And as you can see, just last month, we've hit another low point of inflation of just 3.1%. So we have come down quite a bit from our high inflation levels. And if you look on average, I'm just going to do some quick beer math here. From January of 2023 all the way to the end of November, we started at a peak of 6.5% and ended with a low of 3.1%, which means we were somewhere around 4.5% on average for inflation for 2023. So as long as we maintain that trajectory and we don't see higher inflation rates, or at least nothing too substantial, nothing like 9.1%, that 5.9% increase to our basic pay should fare out pretty well. Although it is important to consider that the last couple of years, our pay bumps were nowhere near 9.1%. So really we're just making up for some past years that fell a little short, right? That's really what's going on, hopefully. Now, I didn't major in economics or anything. Obviously, I'm just doing some quick Google searching and I'm finding some basic stats for us to work with here. But I will say that it does seem like the increase to our basic pay is going to be enough to take us through the next year. And it should feel pretty good considering the past has obviously fell quite short. I'm not sure we should over-celebrate this pay raise bump, although it's awesome. Like, who doesn't like some extra money? But it really does seem like they're making up for the last 2 years of underpaying us, because the increase of our basic pay is really meant to keep up with the United States economy and its inflation rate. And again, the last 2 years seem to have fallen short, so we're really just making up for those last 2 years, which is still good. You got to give them that, right? But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think it's going to be enough for you this upcoming year? Is it going to be able to help you support yourself and your family members? And what do you think about the pay gap between enlisted and officers? Do you think it's appropriate? That might be a whole nother subject for a whole nother video that I can get into, and I'd really love to know your guys' thoughts on that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We talk about all sorts of things on this channel: military news, how to be successful in the military, fitness, all sorts of things. I'm sure you'll find something useful to you. Here's a few other videos from the channel. Go ahead and give those a watch after you're done with this one. Hope that quick update was useful to you guys. Besides that, I've got nothing else for you, and I'll see you on the next one.